Hello, hello, hello. It is the DE Diva, aka the Delaware blogger, coming to you again, once again, on a beautiful, marvelous Monday, the 20th of July. And it is going to be a scorcher. I don't know what it's like where you are in your neck of the woods, but it was an absolutely beautiful, hot, and humid July weekend and expected the same for this week. But then again, it wouldn't be summer, so I'm not complaining. I hope you all had a beautifully blessed weekend, that you were able to do some of the things that you wanted to do, whether it was just chillaxing or being with family and friends, because we're still quarantined. I did have an opportunity to spend some time with my sister. We were shopping in our masks to get a few things down at Home Depot. I was able to relax with my husband sitting out on the front 20, used to be the back 40, but relaxing, listening into my church service yesterday morning. And of course, a Saturday morning was a wonderful podcasting webinar for EC Podcast Media. Yes, you're going to be hearing more about that because not only do they host my blog, Your Way to a Business Profit podcast, but it's also a wonderful community, not a company. It's more than a company. It's a community where we're building and increasing podcasters. And it is an amazing, amazing site. So make sure that you check out, right now it's Elite Conversations Podcast Media, but that's what the EC stands for. And make sure you check out my blog, Your Way to a Business Profit. Let me give you the link to my show. That's every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And I give you blogging tips and branding trends that's going to help turn your passion into a profit. So if you're a new blogger or a veteran blogger and you want some tips and hints, make sure you check out Blog Your Way to a Business Profit. And I also invite you to head over to my blog, delblogger.com, because there I am repurposing a lot of the content that you may have missed here or on the podcast. And you can also get a copy of the Basic Blogging Tips for Beginners book. That's right, $9.99. You can order a copy of Basic Blogging Tips for Beginners. So today we're going to talk about the top 10 podcasting questions of the weekend. So let's get started. And today's mug is World's Best Mom. That was a gift for Mother's Day from my oldest son. So the first question is, let's move this. Disclaimers, are they needed? Now, oftentimes people will put a disclaimer in the beginning of their podcast or at the end of their podcast, but definitely within their show notes, especially if they're talking about legal, medical, or even doing a sponsored post. You should have the disclaimer letting people know that although you're not a medical doctor, although you're not a lawyer or an accountant, the information that you're providing is your opinion. So that way you're not caught up in any legalese. If you're doing an affiliate, you're promoting a product, even if it is not something that you're getting paid to do, but you're getting recognition by that company, you need to include a disclaimer. And that also, if you're going to be using profanity, sexual or legal issues, medical issues, and stuff like that, let people know what they can expect when they're listening in or before they even listen into your podcast, so that they know they may be in mixed company, they may have their kids with them. So if you're going to be dropping the F-bomb like Gary Vee, or you're going to be talking about sex, which is fine, it's natural, make sure that your listeners know. So in case they're listening with their artificial device and they're not listening with the earbuds or the headsets, that they know that, the kids, it may be inappropriate for the kids. So that's the only reason why I think that you need to have a disclaimer. Number 2, this is a great one. What are your podcasting goals? Well, again, that's going to be a personal decision. Or some people said, I am trying to build a loyal and active community. Others said, I am teaching others skills, or I'm learning and developing my own skills. Some people say, I just want to meet new people, using your voice, your vision, your mission to connect with like-minded people. Somebody's goal is to have one of the 150 top podcast shows out there. Others said they're just doing it for fun. They want to make people laugh because they're a comedian or they're a musician and they want to share their music. Others say they just want to inspire and educate others. So whatever reason you have for podcasting, it's a personal decision. You're going to want to do what you do best, and whether it is inspiring people, educating people, or informing people, do you, boo boo. You know, I always say that. Number 3, best way for guest interviews. When I used to do guest interviews on social media, Sunday with the Delaware blogger, and also Out and About with Antoinette, I would be live. Social Media Sunday, actually, I was going through a landline and they would call into a particular number. Now I say a lot of people are using Zoom, Skype, StreamYard, like we're doing it here. There's another thing called remotely.fm, Squadcast, and Zencatr, Zencatr. These are all different apps that you can use so that when you are doing an interview remotely, meaning the person is not right with you, they're not in your home office, they're not in your studio, you need to bring them in, call them in. You can use any of them: Zoom, Squadcast, StreamYard, Skype, any app. You can have them, actually, if you want, you can have them send you the MP3 answers to questions. And if you're really good at mixing and editing, you can ask the question and then the answers could be cut into the episode itself. So there are various ways in which to do so. Remember, your time zones are going to be different if it's on the East Coast versus the West Coast. But there are a lot of great ways. And even with Anchor, I don't use it a lot because there were a lot of glitches. But record with friends on Anchor FM is always an option as well. Number 4. Now, this was in a Facebook forum. They wanted to know who was the oldest podcaster, because they had a woman on there who was, I think she was 77, and she was a podcaster. And somebody said, my mom, who's older than my mom? Well, actually, there was another woman. Yes, she was 81 years old. And the title of her podcast is Be Your Own Brand. But check this out. On Saturday, during our podcasting webinar, one of my original clients in my basic blogging classes, when I used to do them at the library, was on the call. And Merle, how you doing? She is ready to start her podcast. And let me tell you, she's 89 years old. So she is going to be the oldest, youngest, spirited podcaster that I know. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait for you to hear her new podcast, because she is a dynamo. So the oldest podcaster that I know will be Merle, and she is 89 years old and she has a lot of knowledge. So look out for her. Number 5. Okay. How long is your podcast? Meaning in minutes. Again, some people said I go 90 minutes. Some people said 35 to 85 minutes. Some 25 to 30 minutes, 5 to 20 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. It is up to you. Again, we talked about this before. If you can write an article with 50 words, why write one in 500 words? If you can do a podcast in 15 minutes, why drag it out to 30 minutes? Again, it all depends on your topic and if you're going to have guests. My first show, Out and About, Out and About with Antoinette, I think it was like 45 minutes. But my very, very first show back in 2017, it was an hour. But I had music, I had Q&A, I had people calling in live, I had interviews, I had a lot in those episodes. And sometimes today I listen to them and I'm like, whoa, those were some long episodes. So again, the sweet spot used to be 28, 36 minutes because that was a normal commute. But most people are working from home now and they're used to binge watching or binge listening. So however much time it takes you to cover that topic, and if you find that topic is even longer, then you can break it up into a series. So say, for example, you have a book and you want to turn that book into a podcast. You can use a few pages, a few chapters, or whatever. So Find your sweet spot. Again, if you're reading a book, I would say 15, 20 minutes. If you're, giving recipes or whatever, however the case may be, just make it enough that you give enough information and you're not boring your listeners. Number 6, podcasts on Black Lives Matter. Are there many? Yes, and the topics are various. And this is the great thing about it. There are now topics that include mental health, pride, genocide, racism, mass incarceration, police brutality. There's even spoken word and reimagining the future. Those are just a few topics that came out of the Black Lives Movement. Came out of the Black Lives Movement. So if you have something that you need to share and it's something based on Black Lives Matter, please, please, please really think about starting your podcast to connect with others who may be feeling the same way as you do. So do that as well. And no, it's not too late. And no, it's not oversaturated. And remember, there are less than about 1 million podcast episodes on Apple and Spotify, but that's still a little number. It's still in its infancy, and people are coming on board every day. Like I said, next Wednesday, the 29th, Michelle Obama is going to have her podcast. I haven't had an opportunity to read the news today, the pod news today, to see who started their podcast over the weekend. But everyone is really getting more involved and more knowledgeable about not only starting their podcast, but also listening to other podcasts, which is what I'm hoping that you're doing. So let me show you my podcast on Anchor FM every Saturday at 10 a.m. I talk about podcasting pointers. So it's an extension of this. It's repurposing. And that's another thing I'm going to talk about on Wednesday, repurposing content, because that was a question as well that I wanted to just dedicate a whole show to. Again, how to repurpose. I talked about ways to repurpose, but I want to get a little bit deeper into repurposing your content for your podcast. I can literally think of a dozen different ways in which to repurpose your content with one podcast episode. So we're going to talk about that. Maybe we'll do that on Wednesday. Okay, so stay tuned for that. The next question number 7, imposter syndrome. Do you have it? A lot of people don't know what imposter syndrome is, but for those of you that do know, that could be what's stopping you from launching your podcast. Imposter syndrome is feeling like you're not as good as someone else, but you know what? You're you. You have to do you. I can't be you. You can't be me. Again, you have to do you, boo-boo. You want to make sure that whatever you put out there is quality, is your brand, because this is how you're leaving your legacy, whether you're leaving your legacy with a blog, you're leaving your legacy with a book, with a workbook, again, podcasting your purpose workbook, you're leaving your legacy with a YouTube video, you're leaving your legacy with a podcast. You want to make sure it's the best of you, not anybody else. And that is imposter syndrome, trying to be like, or saying that I can't do it because I'm not as good as, I can't do this because I'm not as well spoken as, I can't do this because I don't have the means to do. Yes, you can. You are you. You are the best you that you can be. Remember, your gift from God is life, and what you do with that life is your gift back to Him. So make sure whatever it is, you're thinking about yourself. Don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to Gary Vee. Don't compare yourself to Pat Flynn. Don't compare yourself to Roberto Blake. Don't compare yourself to any of those guys. Learn from them. Pick up pointers from them, but you can't be them. Do you, boo-boo. Really? Okay. What host platform do you use? Well, for my podcast, Blog Your Way to a Business Profit, I use Elite Conversations podcast media. For Anchor FM, the Delaware blogger, I use that. There are so many out there. There's Anchor, there's Libsyn, there's Bluebird, there's I mean, there's a whole bunch of it, and they're popping up every day. So find the platform that works for you. Again, EC Podcast Media, we are a community. We're not a company. We want to help you grow and build not only your podcast, but your community, because it is your voice, it is your vision, it is your brand. And you want to be able to share that in a way that people feel connected to you. People trust you, like you. And then when they trust and like you, they're going to buy from you if there's something that you have to sell to them, a product or a service that you have that's going to solve a problem, help out on a pain point. So that's, it's a personal decision as well. But again, EC Media is me, Elite Conversations, as well as Anchor FM. Number 9, what do you use to create your cover art? Now, we're not all graphic designers. I'm not a graphic designer, but some people use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Spark, PowerPoint, Fiverr, and Canva. PixArt. I use PixArt. I use Canva. And if, again, you're not comfortable in what you are looking to do, find a graphic artist to do it for you. Matter of fact, I am going to be working with one next month because I want to get a logo that I'm going to want to have on merchandise, on mugs, because I'm always looking for muggers. I'm going to have it on mugs and T-shirts, and I want to be able to promote that as part of my brand as well. So I'm going to enlist and engage with a graphic designer, and I cannot wait to tell you about that come next month. And the last question: do you use artwork or thumbnails for different episodes? I think what this was, do you use different artwork? Yes, that's what it is. Do you use different artwork or thumbnails for different episodes? Okay, so yes and no. When I was doing interviews, I would always change up my artwork to include a picture or profile picture of the guest so that he or she was prominent in that cover art. Now my cover art basically stays the same, but my thumbnails for each of these episodes are different. But yes, you can keep the same cover art like on Anchor FM. If you go to my Anchor FM Delaware Blogger Podcast, that is just me. That is just a graphic that I created in PixArt. That does not change at all. However, and the same thing with the Blog Your Way to a Business Profit, but it'll have a different episode number and a different title, but it's the same image. But when you're doing a guest or you're interviewing others, you want to include them so that gives them an incentive to want to share it as well. So you can change it up or you can keep it the same. It is up to you. Again, do you boo-boo? But I love all of these questions. And again, I cannot wait. Tomorrow we're going to talk about, I think, the 5 pillars of podcasting and just like some best practices. And then, like I said, on Wednesday, I want to talk about how you can take that podcast, that one episode, and turn it into a dozen different ways to repurpose in, ebooks, social media posts, blog posts, social media posts, quotes, whatever, GIFs, memes, whatever. We're going to talk about that on Wednesday. So thank you guys so very much for giving me a few minutes of your time. Again, I try to keep these under 20 minutes because I know you've got things to do, places to go, people to see, whatever the case may be. But again, thank you so very much for listening in. Make sure that you share, you subscribe, and you leave a comment about anything. Ring that bell, when you get that notification that the Delaware Blogger has a new YouTube video. And until the next time, stay smart, stay safe, stay social, but still from a distance. Mask up, and I will see you in cyberspace. See ya. It's the DE Diva, aka the Delaware Blogger. And if you're interested in learning more, you remember that 30-minute complimentary discovery call. You just send an email to info@ablakeenterprises.com. Have a beautifully blessed day. Bye-bye.